listening to the Jersey Guys Podcast, the show that talks about hard rock, heavy metal, AOR, and West Coast music. In-depth conversation and special guests are always on tap, so settle in and turn it up. Now, here are your hosts, Tom and Mark.
Hey everybody, Mark from the Jersey Guys Podcast. I'm here with my co-host Tom Coyne, as always. Today we've got special guest Rob Math from the band Leatherwolf. The band just released their brand new album. It's called Kill the Hunted. Came out in November of last year, so we're going to talk to Rob about that, the recording of it, and the time he spent with the band. And we're also going to touch on some other aspects of Rob's career. He's been playing for a while now with Peter Beckett and his version of Player. Of course, Baby Come Back. Everybody knows that song from the late 70s. And he's also been playing in another band called Soul Sign. And that's Bjorn Englen from Yngwie Malmsteen, Dio Disciples, and a bunch of other bands. And the singer on that one is Mark Boals. So they're hopefully going to release their album sometime in 2023. So we're going to talk to Rob about all that stuff. So let's get right to it. Rob Math from Leatherwolf. Hey, Rob, thanks for joining us here on the podcast tonight. Tom and I appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks you guys for having me on. This is awesome.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. This is a good one.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, and I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about Rob Math. So before we get into the, we know you've been playing with Leatherwolf for about 10, 12 years now.
Yeah.
We know your involvement with Peter Beckett and his Player band, which we'll get into. And we know you got a newer thing that's been around for a little while, but it's kind of just getting off the ground called Soul Sign. But I want to go back, and if you could tell me and Tom and our listeners, give us a little background on where you were born, where you grew up, and how you got into playing, guitar and music.
Sure. Before I start, I have to just say one thing. I say, what's going on, guys? I just had to do that. Okay. Yeah, that was going to be my intro. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'm actually originally from New York. And grew up in Long Island. I guess not too far from you guys.
Wow. I grew up in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nice. I grew up in Great Neck, Long Island. It's like a nice suburb. And, I was just a kid that somehow started gravitating towards music and guitar. I think I was like, I remember being like 6 years old or something and just sitting playing like Kiss records, and just different, I was into all that stuff like The Who and the Stones and that was, I guess I'm kind of like old enough, but still young, but to remember that time. So when you had to actually buy an actual record.
Yeah.
And, so I just remember being like fascinated by, Kiss and guitar actually. And, at some point, like my dad, is an electrical engineer, and he was the type of guy that could like build anything, and he's like an electronics genius and stuff. So he was really into creative things, and I remember he took me to a flea market, and we picked up my first electric guitar, and it was I don't remember what it was, but it was some sort of like gold electric guitar with one string, and I was just like, I was like fascinated, And that kind of got the bug in me, but I didn't really do too much with it until, I don't know, a few years later. I think I was like, I was really getting old by then. I think I was 8. No, and I really wanted to take guitar lessons, and so I remember like begging my mom to try to figure out, to get me guitar lessons, and so she found this classical guitar teacher. Excellent teacher, and I think they said, he's a little too young. You got to wait a little bit longer and stuff. So I still couldn't take lessons. I think about a year later I started taking lessons, and I'd go to his house, and I started off on nylon string guitar, so just classical guitar, and I was just doing whatever was natural. I was learning, little finger style songs, and I think Malagueña, you know that one? Famous Spanish song. And so I guess I was doing pretty good. And I started doing recitals. I was maybe 9 years old, and and I would go and I was reading, from a book, and I just it was like classical guitar. So I sit there and I took lessons, and I did 1 or 2 recitals, and I just decided, I said, this isn't really what I want to do. It's this is not it, because I had these albums at home, and I was like, I don't know, this is not the fun I thought it was.
Yeah,
and honestly, it was a little. Yeah, it was a little scary too. It was like, what do I got to do? I got to go learn this piece and sit, and it's so formal and everything. It's, just a kid. So I actually stopped taking lessons for a little while, and I think maybe about a year or so later, the same teacher was actually, his name was Drew Rice, great, amazing guitar player, classical. He opened up a music store in Great Neck, and he called and said, I have this rock teacher. And maybe your son might want to try a lesson with him. And so one thing led to another. Next thing you know, I went down there, and I was playing. I think my first lesson was I was using an electric guitar, one of their guitars, and my teacher, his name was Louis Miranda, another great great player and awesome teacher. The first thing he showed me was how to play with a pick. And I was just blown away. I was like, wow, what is that? He's it's this black plastic piece that he was, and he was doing all this stuff, and I was just like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I think he played Smoke on the Water. I was like, oh my God, yeah. So I was like, that was it. I started to get back into the rock thing, and I guess it just came naturally to me, but I also like to practice, I liked it, but I got it, it's I wasn't one of those students that was blowing into the guitar or something, oh, it's a saxophone. No, right. I get this, so pretty after a little while, it's becoming one of the more fun students. And I just, it's just one of those kids that really liked it. I liked everything, guitar. I try to, find all the listen to the songs on the radio, whatever, and figure them out. And I started just basically doing stuff on my own, and practicing, and I bring that stuff in for the lessons. And I remember my teacher was just blown away. He'd show me something, and I'd just go home and I'd play it for 10 hours, all day long. So it was that kind of process. Yeah. And I think by the time I was 14, I was pretty proficient, at a certain level. Mm-hmm. And I started getting even more serious. It just kind of progressed. Yeah, it just progressed from there. I think by the time I was 15, I was like, this is what I'm doing,
Did you get involved with the local scene out there in Long Island? Did you join bands at any point?
Well, yeah, I mean, actually, so Louis had a Latin kind of dance project, and he was way older than me. I was about 16 or something. He had a band with his brother, and that was kind of the first, not, besides other bands that I had in high school and everything, but that was kind of the first professional band. They asked me to sort of join, and they did, various gigs and stuff, and I was actually they hired me to be the lead guitarist. Okay. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. I was playing weddings and things. Right, okay. And I was only maybe 17. So I was actually going to the high school that I went to. We also had a program that was more artsy based. Mm-hmm. And so we had a class called recording studios. So we had an 8-track recorder and a mixer, and that was one of the classes I could take. So I was pretty involved in recording at the school. in that aspect. And then I had my band in high school, so we would play at different events and we were pretty active. I was in bands since I was maybe 12 or 13. So,
wow.
What catapulted you into the world of Leatherwolf from a guy in Long Island to this Southern California band? How did that all come about?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. The way I wound up coming out to LA, basically I came out to LA. So that's what got me connected to Leatherwolf. After high school, I went directly to school in Boston, and I was there for a couple of years at Berkeley.
Yeah.
And I was in bands there and doing that whole scene. I moved back to New York, and I was, I was like, okay, I'm out of college and all this stuff. I'm working as a musician now. I was teaching, and I was in 2 different bands. I was in a really popular cover band that plays all over Jersey still, Jersey Shore. You might have heard of New Life Crisis.
Oh yeah,
you
sure.
Guys, you ever heard of
Yep.
Yeah, it was back in, what was it, 90? It was 95 or somewhere around 94, 95. So I remember, we used to play the Jersey Shore and Hamptons, Jenkinson's, Tradewinds, all those places.
Oh,
It's great.
We know those places.
Sure. Yeah. Seaway, Point Pleasant.
It was the best. Yeah, it was, living the life.
Wow.
It's we just used to laugh and go play these awesome gigs.
Yeah.
But so the singer that I was working with, great singer, his name's Paul Mahas, and one of my best friends at the time, and another still a great friend. We were writing material together too, so we were playing 5-6 nights a week, just going between Jersey and Long Island, and we drive around this van and laugh and play these shows, and we'd also hang out and write songs and stuff. And then one day he said to me, "Hey, I got this. I know this guy out in LA, and he's got a studio, and he wants me to come out and record." And I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's cool." And he said, "Yeah, he's got a studio at Steve Vai's house." Oh, wow. And I'm like, "Steve Vai?" Yeah, I was like, "Get the hell out of here." He's like, "No, his studio's in Steve Vai's house." He's like, "Do you want to go out to LA and hang out?" It was that type of thing. So we're early 20s. Everything's just done yeah, let's do it. So we go out there. And he's an awesome producer and engineer. His name is Michael Latanzi. And, I just came out because I was working with my friend Paul, and we went to his studio, and it was at Steve's house, where his studio is in, I don't know, in the hills somewhere in the Hollywood, Beechwood Canyon area is where it was actually. And so it was kind of surreal. His guitars were there. He wasn't there, but we were in my friend's studio, and they were trying to produce a song basically for my friend Paul and the band I was in. Paul plays acoustic guitar, and he's an amazing singer. And they were sitting there, and I was just feeling out the vibes, wasn't like I was going to take over anything. But, he was working on the chord changes in the song. And I said, "Can I see the guitar for a second? What if you did something like this?" And I wasn't trying to show off or anything. I just was trying to really help create something. Yeah. And Mike, the producer, was like, "Holy shit, that's killer. What are you doing sitting over there?" He was like, plug it in. Why aren't you playing?" Yeah. And I was like, "Well, I don't step on anyone's toes, Yeah. So he's like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "Yeah, plug in the guitar." So we started working on the song, and naturally I just, started shifting a few chords around and came up with some parts for the song. And it was all really natural, and I was excited because, after we did the acoustics, we were going to use Steve's guitar on some of the electrics. So I was like, "Oh, this is too cool." I was like, "Is he going to be pissed?" And he's like, "Oh, he doesn't care." He said, "I could use anything you want." So we just, we had a great time, a lot of laughs, and I recorded all the guitar tracks for this song. And it became one, the new demo song. And I go back to New York, and I was just single guy, had my place and was living the life. And I get a phone call one day from Mike, and he's from New York, whatever, and he's like, listen, he's like, my brother-in-law heard the stuff that you recorded, and he's a really well-established producer out here, and he's like, listen, he wants to hire you to do this record. I'm like, hire me to do the record? What does that mean? He's like, look, he's gonna fly out here. He'll pay you this. It's an album on Elton John's label for this artist Lulu. I looked her up and I'm like, wow, she's like this big artist from like the 50s or something. Oh, wow. So his brother-in-law is Dave Tyson, and he produced Black Velvet for Lana Miles, and had a lot of hits, and basically, he was just in that circle and using all the top session guys, and anybody that was in the scene. I wasn't in the scene. I was just a dude from New York that flew out on a weekend and cut some tracks. So I was just like, wow, it felt like I was getting plucked, from New York to I was making this big splash, in LA.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short, I came out for that. It didn't exactly go the way it was supposed to go, but it was a good learning experience. And I wound up going back to New York, and they just said to me, you could really do well out here. Like, you basically got all the tools, like, to be like one of those guys, that could be, getting the call for a lot of these big things. And I was like, I didn't really know. I just was doing whatever was natural,
Yeah.
And so I went back to New York, and I had an original band, and that wasn't really going too far. And the cover band thing was going one way. My uncle actually lived out in LA, and he actually became a famous a radio personality named the Bulldog. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he was out in Palm Springs.
Oh,
and
really?
He passed away a few years ago. Yeah, I love him. He was the best, but hilarious. So I just called him. Yeah, I called him one day and I said, hey, could I come out and can I stay there? Basically, I said, I'm thinking about getting out of here and just moving. It was that time where you could do stuff like that and just pick up and leave. I said, I'm going to sell the couch, and I don't have to worry about the lease. So he was like, yeah, definitely come out. So I wound up. That's how I got out to LA. Basically, because I thought that I felt like I could do something out here, and then also because my uncle's out here, and he basically let me crash at his place, so I could get started. I was also pretty active, like whenever they have that NAMM show, and that's when I met my friend Bjorn, and he started telling me about his band, and we kind of just connected, like we got along great. And he already had a guitarist, and then basically the guy dropped out like last minute, and he had some gigs booked in Sweden, and he called me up and said, hey, can you do it? And it was like one of those things where I actually could do it, but the whole thing was so fast. It was like, the next day it was like, I'm going to Sweden. So I took the gig. We got together, and I went to Sweden, and Michael was the singer of that band, Michael Olivieri, from Leatherwolf. Yeah, so we did like one rehearsal or something, or two rehearsals with Michael, and then we went to Sweden, and we just, had a blast because, we was just, it's such a different place. It's like, here's, guys from Orange County and me from New York living in LA. Now we're in Sweden. So we just had a lot of fun, and I was the only guitar player in that project. Even though Michael plays, I didn't even know he played guitar, but that got me connected with him. And then after that, he was just said, hey, I don't know if you're familiar with Leatherwolf, but I'm the singer in this band Leatherwolf, and we might need someone here and there. And so we just started talking, and there were some gigs that were coming up, but nothing, it just fell through. And there was like some recording going on at one point, and then I guess they really needed someone, and that was like 2011-ish. And Michael called me and said, hey, can you give my friend Dean a call? And that was the start. That was the start right from there. Yeah. So long story short, I gave Dean a call, and the rest is pretty much history.
Yeah.
So
let's fast forward up to the
Mhm.
just this year. You got the new Leatherwolf album, "Kill the Hunted." Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I was in the band for a while, and we had just been doing, gigs and shows, and we'd been to Europe and Germany and England, and we've been on cruises, and we were always doing the old stuff, and I always, sort of just kept inching up as like the guy in the band, the main guy, this and that and everything. And
well, you kind of stayed there, right? You kind of stayed within the band, because Tom and I were talking earlier how there was so many guys from the band that were the original guys kept coming in and out, and they get new guys and stuff. But you were pretty consistent there since you joined up in 2011, right?
Yeah, basically. It was just, I don't know how to explain it. Like, yeah, there was a lot of guys in and out of the band. So like when I came in, it was Carrie was the other guitar player, and Michael and Dean, and then Pat. And we did a couple of shows, and then I don't know, some stuff kind of went down with, I don't know, Dean and Carrie, and so then Carrie wasn't going to be in the band, and then Greg came back. So Greg was in it before me, and I'm from Greg Erba. Mm-hmm. So then he came back in the band for a while, and we were same thing. We're doing shows and doing gigs and everything, and then we had a falling out with Greg, and then we got, I think it was Joey Tafoya was going to come in, and he was interested in doing it. But then at the same time, he also hooked up with Grand Bonnet's band, and the schedules were conflicting. Right. So that kind of fell through. And then we found Luke, and we had a whole bunch of gigs, shows in England, and and so Chris, our manager, Chris Leitengut, I think found him or something, and they, I said, "Oh yeah, he sounds good." We're watching some videos of him, and we met him, and he's kind of the youngster of the group, and but really excellent shredder, and can learn a ton of stuff. And he came in, and he's been in it since, basically. So yeah, and so I've been consistent. It's been me and Luke. There was some stuff that I didn't do, like in 2018, that was over in where was it, in Europe or something. But
okay.
Now at some point, Jeff Gaya was back also, wasn't he?
Yeah. So basically around 2017-ish or something, this thing has always been like a drama family. Guys always come in and out, like they never go away.
Yeah.
So
we kind of got that from Mike when we had him on a while back.
Yeah, it's quite a scene, yeah. But I don't know, around, I don't know when it was, in 2017 or 2018, somehow Jeff kind of came back into the scene, and I was still in the band, and we were trying to put the band together with me and Jeff and a third guitar player. So maybe it was going to be Carrie. We didn't really know what was going on. Yeah. And there was a lot of inter kind of stuff going on. I know Mike wanted to really do, the original Carrie, Jeff, him thing. And then Dean wanted me to still be involved. He was like that, it's going to be Rob, Carrie, Jeff. It's like, what, we got 4 guitar players here? So yeah, it's just
from the triple axe attack to the quadruple axe attack.
It's going to be, and it was like, what am I going to do? What are you going to do? I mean, and I remember Jeff came down, and he was super cool, and he was just like, yeah, I don't know, we're just all going to be in this band together. It's like, it's like, hey, you got to pay homage to the original guy, who wrote the stuff. So I was like, well, let's work it out however you want to do it. And
he wrote a lot of stuff on this new album too, didn't he?
Yeah, he wrote, I would say, 90% of the riffs and the arrangements. That's all comes from Jeff's inner genius, and he was involved. Basically, he came in, and we were starting to write again, and Dean said, can you come out and write with us? And he was writing with Carrie, and and I would come in and I would throw some ideas and do this, and then him and Jeff were working together, and Jeff just went home and wrote like 13 tracks and riffs and arrangements and just a ton of stuff, and him and Dean worked on it together, but it wasn't finished, but it was like, the basis of all these, a lot of the riffs and everything were there, so that was, and I was sort of like, this was a new thing for me, writing with these guys. So I would come in where it worked, and I'll explain like how it started, but, I was just sort of like watching the process, the song "Nobody" was sort of like started with Dean and Carrie, and then I came in after and added some things that I thought would work, and they really liked it. "Only the Wicked" wasn't "Only the Wicked." It wasn't. There was a riff and a second section that Jeff had, and it was a great riff, but there wasn't that song. And we didn't have the song or anything. There was just a killer riff and a second section. And so when I came in, we actually added the verse music, which wasn't there. And then that turned just totally, gave the song a whole other life. And then me and Dean sat there, and Dean actually is pretty interesting. He writes a lot of lyrics and stuff, and I have a good sense for melodies and stuff, and so I came up with the vocal melodies for the verses and the pre-chorus and the chorus for that song, and used his lyrics, and everybody heard it and they went, "Wow, that's killer!" Yeah, so that's how that song came together. But the rest of the tracks, so like Jeff really, had those riffs and everything. And when we were getting ready to basically record the album, it was going to be like, it was COVID, COVID was going on, and everybody was kind of freaked out. And Dean had already recorded his drums at a studio in San Diego, and I just remember him telling me, "I'm going into the studio. I'm going to go record, to all these songs." And it was like one of those things like, wow, you're going to go into a building that's not your house. You got to, make sure you wear a double mask and everything. And so he went and recorded all this stuff. And when he had a schedule that they were going to start guitars, and something basically went down. Jeff was supposed to be up first, so that's the way we're like a baseball team. Who's up first?
Yeah.
Jeff was supposed to be up first, and it just, didn't happen. Or Dean called me and said, "Well, I don't know where he is." So I said, "Well, it's, he wrote all those riffs and everything. It's like, he's got to play this stuff." And they basically had kind of a falling out, and it was presented to me to be like, record all the stuff, a lot of the stuff that Jeff had already written, but obviously to do all the guitars on the album. And I was like, well, that's kind of a big task, so, but because it just, the way everything worked out, it was like I could do it, because of just the way COVID and all the stuff. And, it's tricky when you learn a riff that somebody else wrote, as opposed to something that you just came up with, so I didn't want to do that. I was like, really really pushing to get Jeff to go in and do his thing. And Dean just, gave me it's not going to happen. And so I was just left with, what do you want to do? So I said, well, it's going to be a pile of work. So, but I said, okay, I took it on and started working on it. And I just knew that if I did this, that it was going to have to be, my personality. And, it's not going to work if it's just like, I'm not going to go in and try to recreate something exactly like, so it just sounds so sterile,
Yeah, you had to put your own flavor.
So I was like, so it's like, I gotta learn his riffs, and then I gotta, do what I would do, and add my, my flavor, my personality. And but the hard thing is, like, when you do an album like this or something, it's kind of like building a house. You got to start with the foundation. Otherwise, it's just going to be a bunch of crap. So, and that's like the hardest part. It's the most disciplined part is just learning those basic arrangements and those basic riffs and recording those original, the foundation. Everybody just wants to go in and start blazing. Okay, I'm here for the session. Turn me up.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't work like that. Yeah. So we went through months and months and months of, and I even had to tell Dean because he was like, "Oh, you're gonna do this in 3 days." And it's like, dude, if you want this record to be legitimately just killer, this is the way that I do it.
Yeah.
I got to take it piece by piece, song by song, and that's what we did. We just, we did all the rhythm guitars first, basically. I did all the rhythms. We would double them or harmonize and so forth, and spend really as much time as we needed to feel like it was just killer. I said there's really no point. I said it's not even about time or money or something. It's like we're already so invested in this. I said if we don't put it on and we're not instantly blown away, then basically it's not happening.
Yeah.
Now, when you got involved with the band at first,
right.
Were you fully cognizant of the legacy of the band, or was it something that you kind of felt your way through, or like were you a Leatherwolf fan, or was this like a band like I gotta kind of figure out what they're all about?
No, it was like that. I had to figure out what they were all about. So I had heard the name and stuff, but I really wasn't aware of the whole legacy.
Right.
So that might have been like a blessing in disguise because I had no idea really what I was walking into. I just thought I was the man.
Yeah.
And then the next thing I know, it's like, there's this whole legacy and there's a lot of pressure and stuff. And maybe had I known about that, I might have played different. I might have acted, I don't know, so,
Right.
but I kind of went in blind really. I just, I didn't really even know Michael. I just played my ass off and he was like, bro,
Right.
who are you? And same thing. Dean was like, Dean called me up. He goes, yeah, Mikey says you're really good. He's, can you come down and record something? And I said, sure, I'll do it. Send it to me. And they sent me the Gypsies and Thieves solo, which I guess they thought, or Dio was like the premier, probably one of the hardest solos or something. And it's a difficult solo. It's a shreddy kind of lead. And I took my time with it, and I really respected because I thought Jeff was an excellent player, and I thought I could hear all the guitar work was just killer, whether it was Jeff or Kerry.
They were a step above. They
were
a step above a lot of bands. I got to see them at the Cat Club in June of '89, and they were definitely a step above most bands. A big step above most of the East Coast bands. At that time, I thought there was some bands on the West Coast that were like that. Lizzie Borden, Vicious Rumors, Leatherwolf, and they definitely were a cut above. I mean, I was shocked that I remember to this day, it was 33 years ago, that I had no idea that Oliveri played lead guitar to that extent. I knew he played, but I figured he played like the typical lead singer plays, not like the other two guys in the band played. And that was something different. There was no other than Southern rock. There were no triple axe attacks in heavy metal at the time, and it was very cool. It was really different to see. And the legacy of this band for me is very personal. It's still one of my from that era, and I was into virtually every band from that era. It's still one of my top 4 or 5 bands. So what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is it's from myself personally. I'm not a big fan in general of lineups that become severely fragmented. And this lineup, when I first saw, I was under the impression that you were still guitar player, Jeff was the other guitar player. I knew Mike was out, I knew Dean was in. And I almost had to be convinced. And the album did convince me, by the way. Cool. What was the band going through at the time? Were there any feelings like, well, there's only one original member. Rob's been here a long time. Will this go over as good without Jeff or Carrie or certainly Oliveri in the band?
Definitely. I mean, there's always that, there's always the core fans that are not happy to hear that, so-and-so's not in it or this person's not in it. And, I think we were trying to do it with Jeff in the band. So it was like, it was Dean and Jeff and me. And then that was like kind of the last falling out, I got to hand it to Dean. He kept the faith, he said, I just, it's not working out.
Yeah.
and I want to do this record and, can you do it? Are you the guy,
Yeah.
And it was like this family that couldn't get along, I said, what about Michael? What about Jeff? What about,
Right.
and everything just kept pointing to me, and so there was a lot of pressure. It was like, well, either we're gonna either waste our time because there's gonna be a lot of people that are disappointed, or we're just gonna have to just kill them, and really blow everybody away. And so that that was just sort of the pressure too. Like when I was doing it too, I was getting some heat, from people like, oh, it's not going to be this. Oh, you can't, and that. And I was like, I have a pretty competitive attitude, so if you start pushing my buttons, then I start to say, all right, well, fuck you, sorry, I didn't mean to curse,
No, that's fine.
But here's this is what, here we go, so it just kind of pressed me and Dean, and but it was unfortunate. It would have been cool, to if those guys could have got along or just kept it together. But there's a lot of, I think mostly with Dean and Mike, it was a lot of creative differences. It wasn't like, and they have years of history. I only really know Mike since 2010, and we always got along good, and there was really nothing, just had a lot of laughs, and but I was always kind of in not a weird position, but I was always in like kind of the hot seat with that band because there was such a core, group of people that always wanted to see the original guys in there, Yeah. So it was, and then they would want to come back, but then they didn't come back, and so I just, sort of ignored a lot of that stuff because a lot of it was just like band drama,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of drama. A lot of drama. And what really ended up happening, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but from the outside looking in,
sure,
the strength of the album has really paved its own way. And I think now the lineup, as it is, and I mean, I network with a lot of people on the internet about, and the feedback on this album is fantastic. And I think now,
excellent.
The past members are in the past. It's like this lineup is gelled. The songs are fantastic. To me, it's a complete combination of the very first album and Street Ready. Like if you put the two together, it's cut right out of that mold. And I think the lineup now is really accepted. And I think Keith now is starting to get a lot of recognition as not just the guy that replaced Oliveri, but like the new singer who's brought like a new voice and a new, energy to the band. Could you tell us a little bit about how you guys got him? Because he's a real talent.
Oh, cool. Yeah, well, that was really lucky. I mean, it's kind of hard to, I know bands that look for singers for years, and all you hear is that we're still looking for a singer. And I don't know. Dean had him and Mike had a little thing, and he put out some feelers that he, for some different vocalists, and Keith was one of the guys that they that he came across, and I don't know what the process was really. I think maybe he saw some YouTube videos or something, but he became aware of Keith, and it turned out that he lived really close. He was, right in Orange County, really close by. And so they connected. And then Dean was telling me about, oh yeah, I met this guy who's supposed to be really good. And I thought, oh yeah, it's going to take forever. We're not going to find someone. And and then I heard him. I said, oh wow, he's killer. And that we actually he came down to, I guess, kind of sing a few things in Dean's garage. He has a studio in there, and I drove down. I'm in LA, and we were working on Only the Wicked. We had put that together, I think, a few nights before, and I had like whispered the melodies into a Pro Tools session, because it just took on this whole new form with the new music that we added. And then Dean and I put together he had the lyrics, and I helped him put together the melodies with the lyrics, and I kind of whispered it one night at like 3:00 in the morning, and he said, let's see if he could sing this. And so Keith, came over, and we met him, and we showed him the song, and we just had him basically, sing that, and he worked with us, and just as if he was like a vocalist doing a session. And we just, we heard it, and we're like, he's just, wow, he's got an amazing voice, the tone is amazing, and the range, and it's like, this guy can sing, holy crap. So that's basically how it started with Keith. And then Dean just kept working with him, calling him back, hey, can you come over and can you come try, sing on this song? Can you sing on this song? And so it wasn't like right away. We had him. He sang on a bunch of stuff, and Jeff had heard him too. I think Jeff was still in the fold at that time, and everyone was just giving him a thumbs up. So we were just waiting for him to basically, lose his patience. So like, hey, are you guys gonna? When am I gonna know if I'm in the band or not? Right. So we just had him keep coming back and singing and singing and singing and singing. And I don't think we really formally said you're in the band for a while. But he just hung in there, and just he had the right attitude. He's like, I'm in, what do you want me to do? We'd call him, and he'd come over and sing a new thing, or he'd come over and fix stuff. A lot of guys get real egoed out, if you say, hey, I really liked it, but could you, could you try it this way, or could you try that? And he, kept an open mind, and would come back and either re-sing it or try to, appease and everything. But we also got to know him. We got to know, where his strengths were and stuff. And I think even him and Dean got into it at certain points. And but it was healthy. It was a healthy thing.
Yeah.
Same thing with me and Dean. It was like we just, you just start to butt heads, and that's all. Like that kind of tension just really helps create the product,
Yeah, sure.
So, but yeah, you got to. It was a whole bunch of events, that really, like I said, he just hung in there and just kept pounding it out. So,
yeah.
Got to, we're all proud of him.
Yeah. So
you're the guy, dude. Yeah, you kick ass. Yeah.
So Killer Hunted, you tell me, you tell us it's a long time process, a lot of drama with the things. It's finally out late last year. Yeah. What's the plan going forward? Do you guys have shows that you're gonna do?
Well, so the record is out. It came out in November, and first off, we're really just stoked about the what's been going on with it. It's been charting in the metal contraband and I guess some of the heavy metal charts. It's been number 4 and number 6, and it's getting airplay. And Amazon in Japan, it was like number 1 for a while, in Germany. And it's, like you said, it's getting a lot of good interest, and there's a buzz happening. So yeah, we definitely want to get out there and play shows. And we're just sort of putting the feelers out for the right agents, and that's what we're hoping, that this will create enough momentum for us so that we can be out there touring and basically playing this record in a live show.
Right.
That's what we want to do for sure. Yeah.
Okay. And everybody can keep up to date.
Yeah.
I guess, is it leatherwolfmetal.com is the website?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe that's it. Leatherwolfmetal.com. And on the Facebook, gosh, God, I don't know. Is it Triple Axe Attack? On Instagram, I think it's Triple Axe Attack.
Okay, yeah, we'll post those all on when we get this up posted.
Cool. Yeah, and let me just add one other thing. I just kind of went off a little track, but I was talking about like recording the album, and just like I said, the hardest thing was the foundation of just putting down the arrangements and the riffs, and then after that is where I really got to have more fun and show use my own personality and stuff. So so when you hear like 99% of the solos is all me, and all those harmonies and all that stuff, that was the creative process. Dean and I sat there and we would just pound it out.
Nice.
Luke played a couple solos on it and like Hit the Dirt, in Medusa, Road Rage, and then Joel Hoekstra actually played just a small little portion, but killer riff on the Henchman at the end of the solo.
Very cool.
So, but yeah, it was cool. So we really had fun. Really, the creative process was, just painting that picture.
Yeah.
It just like the different dynamics between our personalities, I guess, just really worked.
Right.
Me and Dean we'd sit there and fight in the garage, and his wife would just hear yelling going on. I said, "What's going on with these guys?" It's like, it's like, well, I think it should be this way. Yeah, you think it should be that way. Well, I think that sucks.
Well, you could see the time and attention put into it, because the thing that really won me over with it, aside from your guitar playing, which maintained the sound. What I liked about this album so much, aside from how great the songs are, the guitar playing has that signature Leatherwolf sound. It still sounds like a Leatherwolf record, and that's what I really liked about it. And the fact that the new singer doesn't sound like Oliveri, but he has his own identity. And I'm a big singer guy. I'm very critical of singers, and when I first put this CD on, I was like, I hope I like this guy, because I knew I really wanted to be behind this album. And the first time through it, I was totally won over by it. It's just a terrific album from beginning to end. It really is. It really truly is. And you know what? Kudos to you and Dean for powering through all the drama and everything, and being able to put out an album, again, for a guy that's been a fan of the band dating back to 1986.
Right.
I'm a tough critic, and for me to be won over by it as much as I have speaks volumes of the results of this great record. Yeah.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And I have to give Dean credit. I mean, he's one of those guys that can finish stuff. And a lot of people can start things and get ideas and whatever, but he's got that kind of mentality and the patience to build something and just take it to the end,
And he's still got that monster drum sound too. So it's
he's killer. Yeah. I mean, one of the interesting things about Dean too is that a lot of drummers go in and they rehearse the stuff with the band and they come up with their ideas and they play it. And this album was so interesting that it really started where everybody was like in separate places. That I think he had an injury or something was going on where he wasn't playing.
Yes, I remember that. A couple of years ago. Yep.
So he would go in and he would put down these drum parts on in a program on the computer, like a drum machine type of program. But he was very into writing the parts and taking the time to really figure out very specific parts and everything. And so he would go ahead and do that. And then when it came time to actually record the stuff, he went back and learned all those things that he had programmed, on the computer, which is like so crazy. Because some of it, he said, he wasn't even sure if he could play, but he went back and and he just, learned it and took it home and practiced it and then went in and did it. And so I got to give him a lot of credit. I tell him that all the time when we talk. I go, dude, who else is like you? I go, who does that? Who actually, writes their drum parts or beats using on a computer and then goes back and learns them and has a discipline to do that. So a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of interesting personalities. I mean, me and him it's like two crazy personalities. I said it's like two overly obsessive guys working on a record. Yeah. it's never finished, and then when I would think it was good, he would say it's not good, and then he would think it's good, and I would say no. It's got to be done again, and he would say it does. Yeah, and I'd say yeah, you can't use that. Nice. So but we were fortunate to have the time to do that, and so we came out and we got the product is really strong, and we just want to keep it going. So
very good.
Yeah,
cool. Well, Leatherwolf, Kill the Hunted. Everybody needs to check that out. So, Rob, we talked all about Leatherwolf and all the history you have with that band, the recording of the new album. But let's kind of switch gears and go over to another band that you've been involved with for a while now, and that would be Peter Beckett and his band Player. I mean, you're talking polar opposites here. You got Leatherwolf being 80s heavy metal, and then you've got Player being kind of 70s soft rock. But how did you get involved with Peter and start playing with his band?
I think it was like 2007 or 8, and so there was a new guitar center that opened up near me, and Vox had a new guitar out that they were like really excited about just showing people in general. So they're like, take the guitar and go show people some stuff. So I was like, all right, could be worse. So I went down to the guitar store with this guitar, and I was looking for something to do. Basically, I would just plug in, and people would start talking or whatever. And so once I bumped into Peter at the guitar store, I just, I said, I got this guitar, and I'm just going to bring it inside and play. And he's like, oh yeah, I want to see that, And so I brought it in and started fiddling around, and right away, his eyes kind of popped out, and he said, "Where'd you learn how to play like that?" And I said, "Play like what?" Because I was just so used to just playing, all the time, and I think I was playing some country licks or something, and so that's kind of how we met. We just started exchanging licks because I was showing this guitar around, and he thought it was pretty cool, and I had no idea who he was, just from at the time talking to him.
Right.
I was just hanging out in the store playing, and I saw him watching me, and at one point, we were, playing out, I was showing him this guitar just like I was showing other people, customers in the store. And I had a little crowd around me because I was doing like a little Jimi Hendrix type of, crazy guitar thing. So I had all the salesmen just gathered around me, like, just going like, what is going on here? And I'm just shredding in the store, and I saw Pete in the corner just watching too. And that was it. And then he came over to me and we started talking again. And he said, "Did you ever hear of the band Player?" And I said, "Player." I said, "Oh, that sounds familiar." And then he said, "Do you know the song Baby Come Back?" And I said, "Baby Come Back." Yeah. I said, "Baby Come Back," like, "Baby Come Back." And he's like, "Yeah, that's the song." And he's like, "That's my band." And I was like, "Get out of here. That's your band." Yeah. He said, he goes, "Listen," and he's real English too. He said, "Listen, mate, we might be doing a gig. We might need a guitarist." And I said, "Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah." He was pretty old school. He said, "Listen, take this number, mate, and don't lose it, and get in touch with me." And so he handed me a piece of paper. I'll never forget, piece of paper with, I could read his name out and the phone number. And I put it in my pocket, and I thought, that was really interesting. I said, the guy from Player, and I used to watch them on TV, when I was a kid, like talking about the days of growing up and whatever, starting to learn guitar. I just remember the Solid Gold infomercials would come on, or the compilation albums, and there it was, Baby Come Back, and there was Peter. And then I started putting two and two together. I went home and I started looking at it, and I was like, this is so funny. Yeah. So anyway, I gave him a call, and that started the friendship and the relationship, and we got along great, right from day one. So he said yes. He sent me a bunch of songs, and wanted to give me a little bit of time to they definitely need a guitar player. So I said, yeah, I'll definitely work on this stuff. And we just went from there. The next step in the progression was that he would take me up to what what he referred to as the castle, was to meet Ron. So so I had the material and I was working on it, and I was like, wow, it's the player guys. And then he set up a little I guess it's kind of a little quasi audition, and we met up and went up to Ron's house, and as far as I remember, it was just the three of us, and we did it was Baby Come Back and like two or three other songs. Mm-hmm. But what I remember was I learned everybody's parts inside and out. So I didn't know, who was going to sing what part. I didn't know who was going to play what part. I didn't know anything, but I just knew all the parts. So, and I remember Peter was really, impressed by that. And same thing with Ron. I remember I said, whichever part you want to do, because I knew I could do this one, or this one. Yeah. And I wanted to go in and have kind of a foolproof plan. Yeah. I didn't want to be like, well, I don't know that, I don't know this, you just learn from experience. And so that was the first time we got together, and it was great. It gelled really well. Our voices sounded really good, and he's such an amazing singer, and it just fit. Oh, yeah. And that was kind of the start of being with Player.
Well, I thought you were going to tell me when you were talking about being in the music store, and you mentioned playing some country type stuff. I thought you were going to tell me that's where he got his idea for the Limey Cowboy.
Oh yeah, no, that was later on actually. Yeah, the Limey Cowboys. That was later. That was just another something idea that he came up with, and he knew that I had those country licks too. Yeah. So he said it would be perfect. I want to do this. Yeah.
Before we let you go, though, Rob, I got to just ask you one other thing. Let's talk about the band Soul Sign. Mark Boals, singer, something you've been involved with for a while. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so so Soul Sign is a great four-piece band. It's Bjorn Englen on bass. He was in Quiet Riot and played bass with Yngwie Malmsteen, John Roth,
played with Dio Disciples.
Amazing bass player. Yes, Dio Disciples, and he's a great friend, and we just get along great. And Mike Cancino from the band Unita, however you pronounce it, and I think he's played with Lynch Mob, is just a killer drummer. And Mark Boals, we know Mark from being the singer in Yngwie's famous stuff and Ring of Fire, and just an amazing vocalist. And so I actually I met Bjorn, and I have been friends for a long time, since I guess it was like back in 2010, and we met at I think it was like the Fender booth or something at NAMM, and that's I actually played in the band in like 2010 for about a year or so, and when Michael was in the band, and then I got kind of busy with Player, and it just wasn't really working with the scheduling and everything, so it wasn't something that I could continue doing. So they went on, they got somebody else, but it was never the same. Oh, actually, Mark had joined the band. Sorry, I was in the band until 2012, and Mark had joined, but then I was busy with Player and other things, and so they got somebody else, and we remained friends, but I wasn't in the band anymore, and but we actually would bump into each other here and there, and it was always like I was in the band. We wished I was, but I wasn't. And so during COVID, actually, Bjorn reached out to me, and he told me that they were recording a new album, and it was Mark and Mike and him, and maybe I could help out with doing some guitar tracks. And I was so busy doing the Leatherwolf stuff with Dean. We were like, a couple days a week, and I was playing all the time. So, I was like, sure, but we were all so paranoid about the whole COVID thing, Yeah. Well, you don't have COVID, do you? So yeah, but so we got together, and he lives in Hollywood, and I'm right here in LA on the West Side, and we set up a session, and I brought my amp over, and we just. Yeah, I think the plan was to do like two songs or 3 songs, and we just had so much fun. We had so much fun recording, and we got so much done in that first day. It was like, I remember, what this friendship was about. We just didn't work out scheduling wise, and I put these guitars down, and he was loving them, and he played it for the drummer. He said, "Listen to what Rob did," and they were just like freaked out. Oh, this is killer, And so he sent it to me. I thought, I really like what I'm doing in this situation, because it's cool to play, in the triple axe attack where you have 2 other guitar players, but it's also nice to be in a band where you have that kind of freedom, where you're just a bass player and a drummer,
right.
and I can just sort of, I don't have to worry about exactly what everybody else is doing. I just have to fit in with these guys and be like, it's more of a, an Eddie Van Halen kind of thing,
right.
or Lynch Mob. Yeah. So I just, did that session, and then we stayed in touch, and then he sent me, the songs with, I played me a little bit of it with Mark's vocals, and I just went, wow, this is just smoking. This is killer. And he said, well, I got 3 more songs, can you do it? I says, yeah, let's do it. So we did another session, and we'd have these like marathon sessions, where we would just try to get everything done within like, a 10-hour, 11-hour span. And we did, I think I did, I don't know, maybe it was 9 songs or something like that. There was some that were already done.
Right.
That you had various other players. I think Tony McAlpine played on it, and some guys from Sweden and so forth. But we did that, and it was just such a cool chemistry that even though I'm in Leatherwolf, and then I played player and all this stuff, it was like a cool opportunity for me to really just be like the one guitar player and a different, more of like a bluesier classic rockish kind of thing, Well, it's heavy rock, but it's not like strict metal, what I mean? It's heavy rock, a little bluesy edge on the metal side, But there's a little bit more flexibility with certain things. It's Leatherwolf is, I love Leatherwolf, but it is it's there's no denying what it is. It's like, what do you guys play? It's heavy metal.
Right.
It's Leatherwolf. What I mean? So this was just another kind of creative outlet, and Bjorn and I get along great and creatively and stuff. So we just came down as like, we need someone. Would you want to play in the band again? And so I was, very into it, as long as we can make it work scheduling wise.
Yeah.
Sure. So, it's sort of like a really good, creative friendship, and, but we're doing our first show with this lineup, next week. I don't know, is it next week or the week after, in Palmdale at a place called Transplants Brewing Factory, I think it is.
Okay.
Let me see. February 11th. So, but that's going to be one of the first shows that we do with that lineup.
Is there plans for the album to come out at any point this year?
Sometime this year. I don't know exactly what the whole timeline is, but most of it's finished, and that's more in the hands of Bjorn with mixing and mastering.
Okay.
But most of the recording is done. But the plan is to release it this year, I think.
Okay.
but yeah, that's but I really love the opportunity that I have in that band.
Yeah.
To
no, it sounds interesting. Looking forward to hearing it for sure.
It's cool. Yeah. And Mark is such a sweet guy and such an amazing vocalist. It's like,
oh yeah, I mean, we had him on the podcast. Like you said,
cool.
he's been with on so many projects, so many bands over the years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's so inspiring. It's an inspiration,
Yeah.
Every time I see him, he's like literally just coming from a gig or something,
Yeah.
like where are these gigs, Yeah. I just got off the ship and I just did this, and,
Yeah.
But that's what it is, these days. Unfortunately, it's like you got to be like super active,
right?
And just keep the gigging going, I guess.
Right. Right. Tom and I really appreciate the talk tonight. A lot of good stuff, and look, definitely congratulations on the new Leatherwolf album, Kill the Hunted. So everybody needs to check that out. And definitely looking forward to the Soul Sign stuff later in the year. And
hopefully this year too, you'll see me out on the stage with Peter again sometime doing some shows.
That'd be cool too.
If we're ever out your way or something, we'll try to connect or something.
Absolutely,
that'd be awesome.
But no, guys, thanks for having me on and reaching out. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
A lot of fun.
Thanks everybody. Rob Math, everybody, Leatherwolf, and appreciate the talk.
Right on. Thank you, guys.
Take care, brother.
All right.
Okay, guys. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
All right. Take care, man. See you guys.
Bye.
Later.